Okay, so for those who joined, good morning all, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mohamed Maria to you. Okay, Mr. Mohamed serves as the managing partner at Just Wheels, a local firm here in the UAE. Having moved to the UAE in 2005 after a period with the same company in the UK, which he joined in 1989. Okay, so that being said, Mr. Maria has a career of more than 25 years in this field and has a profound expertise in the area of wills, inheritance, and probate matters. Okay. He has contributed to the local government in terms of the will registry systems in both Dubai and Abu Dhabi courts, confirming his commitment to this field in the UAE. So I will give the word now to Mr. Maria. I will ask the participants to keep they are muted, okay? So the microphone, so there's no noise to interfere. You can take notes of any questions you might have, and in the end, then we will have question and answer time in the end of the session, okay? Thank you very much and enjoy.
Thank you, Cecilia, and thank you for everyone joining this session. The objective is really to educate all expats on the importance of this subject, is to educate them exactly what happens when a person passes away, when you lose a loved one. Suddenly you realize that your time in this part of the world may be limited. It's all about understanding, educating yourself, the system. Every country has a law. I'm not here to say this law is better, that law is better. Every country has their law. So let's say, for example, if I was to have any estate, asset, anything in Brazil, then I need to know the law of Brazil, because at the end of the day, the property or the asset or the money or the children is in Brazil. So if you have in anything in any other country, you need to understand and respect the laws here. And like I told you, I'm not going to say to you that this law is better, that law is better. Every law is plus or minus depending on your circumstances. So for me, it is about educating you. This is going to happen, but more important, what you do today. That's why the topic is called the importance of succession planning in advance. Why am I saying in advance? Because we need to talk about this today. We need to educate ourselves today. We need to know the problems today, so that when something happens, at least you have the knowledge, and more important, you will obviously have the solutions for tomorrow as well. So the importance of succession plan in advance for the Brazilian community. I just want to thank you all for joining again. So let's begin. Okay, who are Just Wills? So just very little. Just Wills, I joined them back in 1989, many years ago. Now, I'll probably tell you how old I am. But, I came into the UAE in 2005. So we're the first company to set up in the UAE. We, from the UAE, are obviously dealing with the GCC area jurisdiction. So Just Wills, based in the UAE, we are throughout the GCC. I do have some knowledge, not a lot, some knowledge on laws in other countries. However, you must understand the objective today is to talk to everyone about the UAE. So if you're telling me, oh, in my country, this happened, that happened, I'll say, look, I'm sorry. What happens in your country It's nothing to do with what's happening here. So, like in the UK now, if somebody wants to make a will to the dog, to the cat, in other words, give all the money to an animal, believe it or not, you can do it there. It doesn't mean you can do it here. So every country has their own system. Now, let's talk briefly, what is a will? Many people get confused about this document. A will or testament, it's a legal binding document that coordinates the distribution of your estate after your death. Remember, after your death, what you do in your lifetime is entirely up to you. So, for example, you have a property today, you sell it tomorrow. You buy a company today, the company grows. Whatever happens in your lifetime, you must remember that the will covers what you own at the time of death. Now, because nobody knows what they will own tomorrow, that's why it's important that you understand that the will is covering what you have at the time of death. Now, one thing I would like to explain, your estate is everything you own. So don't think I'm referring to immovable property. Immovable property is, what do you call it? Like an apartment, a property. For me, estate is everything, whether it's your bank account, your car, your fixed deposit account, maybe it's your life insurance, your gratuity, your company. Even if you have jewelry in a locker account in a bank, that is also considered as estate. So I want you to understand, estate is what you earn. So don't limit estate to property. This is everyone come to me when they buy a property. They have a what do you call it? They think they should have a will. If you have a bank account, your estate, a will allows you to communicate your wishes clearly and precisely, including appointing guardians for your children, something which people never think about. You can also discuss your funeral wishes and even have some instructions for the executor of the will. Unlike a trust, a will is only activated on your death. So a will, you draft it today, you can cancel it, you can update the will. So a trust is in your lifetime, a will is only activated upon your passing away. For us, a will is one of the most important documents you will ever draft in your lifetime. And our job is to try and make it as easy as possible. Okay, what happens if you pass away with no will? The first three boxes, I have no control, even if there is a will or no will. I repeat, even if there is a will or no will, I have no control over these three boxes. To tell you the truth, this is where all the problems start. And this is what people need to be educated. This is why it's called succession planning in advance, because a lot of the problem starts off from this three boxes. So number one, bank accounts are blocked. Now, what you need to understand, when I'm referring to bank accounts, I'm talking about single and joint. So if you have a joint account, there's 100 dirham between husband and wife. If the bank is informed of death, whether it's the husband or the wife, the moment the bank is informed, they will push the button and block the 100 dirham. They won't block 50 dirham. They will block the full 100 dirham. What I want you to understand, and this is where the problems start, is that when it comes to bank accounts, whether it's single or joint, every bank account will be blocked. Every account. So if your salary is going into bank A, you have a savings account in bank B, bank A and bank B, both of them are blocked. I have no control. Once your name is in the system, I cannot control this. Even if you have a will, I can't control this. Banks are instructed to freeze accounts immediately when they are informed. Now, Is the freezing of bank accounts part of Sharia law? Many people actually think that freezing of bank accounts is part of Sharia law. I said, if you go to Canada, you go to South Africa, you go to Italy, you go to Kenya, they all freeze bank accounts. So bank accounts are being blocked has nothing to do with the Sharia law. This is a misconception. Freezing of the bank accounts is to make sure all your debts and liabilities are settled and to make sure that the money goes to the right person. So point number one, I have no control. When the person passes away, bank accounts are blocked. What you need to understand, I'm blocking the banks, sorry, the single and the joint accounts are blocked. So joint accounts is only good for operational. Remember this. Bank accounts are only good for operational. They're only there for operational use, not either or survivor. In the GCC, there is no concept of either or survivor bank accounts. I know a lot of banks give wrong information. It's very upsetting because sometimes I have to educate the banks to stop giving the wrong information. They will just tell you that if the husband, sorry, I always put emphasis mainly on the husband, that the same problem will apply to the wife. It just, if you look at box number 2, it's usually the husband sponsoring the wife. That's why the problems start more when the husband passes away. So when the banks are informed, they block all the accounts. I have no control over it. Even if you take the will to the bank, they will not give you the money. You have to go back to the court, and the court will issue an order to the bank to transfer the money to the beneficiaries. So number one, bank accounts are blocked, single and joint. Number 2, visas are also cancelled. Now, I know there are some solutions for the visas. However, all I want you to understand is that when the breadwinner passes away, 9 out of 10 times, the family will insist for the body to be repatriated out of the country. So if you're dealing with the funeral arrangements outside the UAE, you have to cancel the visa of the deceased, and then all the dependent visas are automatically cancelled. So you imagine your bank accounts are blocked, then the visas are cancelled. If you're allowing for the for the funeral arrangements to take place in the UAE, they will cancel the visa of the deceased. However, they will allow the dependent visas to run its course, and on renewal, it will be cancelled. So bank accounts are blocked, credit cards are blocked, visas are blocked. Problem doesn't stop there. Your embassy is informed of death. So when you take the death certificate to the government departments for the visa to be cancelled, you have to inform your embassy as well. Now, what do? Many people don't know this, that they will send a message back to your home country. Now, you imagine if a Canadian passed away in the UAE, not only the bank accounts are blocked locally, but the Canadian embassy will send a message back to Canada. And then guess what? The bank accounts in Canada could also get blocked as well. So why am I putting emphasis on these 3 points? Is number 1, problems start from here. This is just the beginning. Problems will always start from here. Number 2, even if you have a will, I can't help you. Number 3 is this is where not only the problems start, this is where the families, I'm sorry to say, will be struggling to even put food on the table. Well, for your kind information, I've got solutions to these problems. I just want you to understand the problem first before I give you the solution. So these 3 points, I have no control. Even if you have a will, there's no control. And this has nothing to do with the Sharia law. Visas being cancelled is immigration. Home country being informed is international law. And the freezing, blocking of your bank accounts is local law. Now comes the other issues. Local law will be applied to the distribution of the estate. Now, local law, recently there was a change in the system. So I will go through this very quickly. However, I'll talk about it later on in some detail. Local law will be applied to the distribution of the estate. So if you look at whatever the deceased owns, club everything together, look at it as 100 shares. So you can apply the Sharia law or the new law. The Sharia law is where the estate is divided between the parents, the spouse, and the children. So if you've got a pen handy, you can write this down. If you're looking at the Sharia law, the mother and father will take 16.66% each. The wife will take 12.5%, and the balance will go 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. If you look at the new law, they have now restricted the estate to the surviving spouse, 50%, and 50% to the children, divided in equal shares. So the new law, which was passed recently, states that if there is no will, remember, if there is no will, you either have the Sharia law or the 50-50 law, 50% to the surviving spouse, 50% to the children. All of your life policies, gratuity benefits, workman compensation is blocked. So you imagine you're working for a company and the company owes the employee their life assurance or any gratuity, it is blocked. All your other investments are also blocked. So if you're buying an off-plan property, you have a fixed deposit account, you've bought shares in the company, it's all blocked. Family arguments within the estate will arise. So when it comes to money, I'm sorry to say everyone is fighting. And when it comes to money, there's no blood relative, there is no religion. I've seen everyone coming out the woodwork. It's very upsetting because when the family find out, the extended family find out somebody's passed away, before you know it, everyone's trying to come and see what they can claim. If you are separated, not divorced, ex-partners could end up staking the claim in your estate. Now, this is very important because many people are separated. Many people may be divorced, but still not completed. So when it comes to divorce, if you don't have an absolute decree, then ex-partners could end up staking the claim in your estate. Assets in your home country will be distributed according to the local laws. Like I told you in the beginning, every country has their law. And I'm not here to tell you that this law is better, that law is better. All I'm saying to you, every country has a law, plus or minus. It depends on which side of the fence you're sitting on. The children's control of the inheritance is always given to the wrong person. So you imagine, even with the new 50-50 law, if the wife takes 50% and 50% goes to the children, the court will decide who will look after the share of the children. It could be the court, it could be the grandfather, it could be the uncle. I'm not here to say what the court is saying is correct. I'm just saying it's always the wrong person. In some countries where inheritance tax apply, you could end up in a situation where you are paying double tax. So you've been taxed in your home country and taxed in the UAE as well. If you have a registered will, now please remember, registered will means a will registered in the court. Number one, this will expedite the distribution of your assets. Remember, assets, estate, everything you own, whether it's a car, bank account, property, company, jewelry, life assurance, gratuity. The will is covering A to Z. So now we have a will. The court has already registered the will, so execution is easier. The court will accept your wishes. So if the husband saying leaving everything to the wife, or leaving everything to the daughter, or leaving everything to the son, court will respect this. So there's no room for argument. The will covers your estate life policy, so this will pass on to the right people. The will does cover your end of service benefits. This is something people always misunderstand. All the investments will pass on to the people of your choice, including off-plan properties. Let's take an example. You have a business and you want someone else to run the business. However, the beneficiary is someone else, that can be put into the will. There will be no family disputes. Everyone knows what they will get. You can insert an exclusion clause so that you can block any potential ex-partners. If you have children from any previous relationships, the will can cover that as well. You can leave a gift of money to a family member. For example, if you are sponsoring your parents, you can, even make sure they continue getting the money afterwards. Nominating a local executor is very, very important. So you imagine the family is in the home country. They don't have to come to the UAE. Somebody locally can deal with the execution of the will. You can also leave a provision for a charity. But something more important why you should make a will, and this is what many people are overlooking, is protecting your children. Now, I'd like to say one thing, and it's very important you please understand, that if the husband passes away, the physical guardianship of your children goes to the wife. So I know there's some rumors in the market, if the husband passes away, the authorities will put the children into temporary care, the police will turn up, take the children away. This is nonsense. People who are spreading these rumors is only frightening you for you to draft a will. I don't work like that. I want you to understand one point though. If both husband and wife pass away, yes, you will have a problem. So you take an example, husbands no more, the physical guardianship is with the wife. However, the estate will be divided 50-50 or as per the Sharia law. The children's 50%, the control of the 50%, court will decide. So if you have 100 dirham, 50 dirham to the wife, 50 dirham to the children, the wife will get 50 dirham, but for the children's 50 dirham, this will sit in the court until the children reaches 21. So this is why you need to understand there is a difference between the physical guardianship and the financial guardianship. Financial is in the will. Physical, yes, it goes to the mother. Now, let's say, God forbid, husband and wife both pass away, you will have a problem. It happened 10 years ago. Two parents passed away in a car accident. Children were at school. The school did not know what to do. They did not know who to contact. I mean, you're talking about children here. So what did the school do? They called the authorities. The authorities came. They took the children, put them into temporary custody. They contacted the embassy to try and find the parents, the grandparents, sorry. It was a mess. It took over 3 months for the right people to turn up. And in 3 months, where the children were sitting, who was looking after them, this is a question you shouldn't be asking me. This is why you draft a will. When you draft a will, you can appoint both a temporary and a permanent guardian. What's a temporary guardian? Temporary guardian, somebody living here who'll get to the scene to look after the children. It could be your neighbor, a work colleague, a friend, someone at the school, a distant relative. It's got to be somebody living in the UAE. And when it comes to temporary guardians, I tell people don't appoint 1 or 2, give me 5, 6, 7 guardians, because the UAE is a very transit country. People are coming and going every time. Please know a will is the only document that allows you to legally appoint guardians. You could a letter of wishes, a signed document, a document that is in English, witnessed but not registered in the court is not going to work. You need to have the will registered in the court, and the will covers the guardianship of the children. What does the will do? For me, protects your children. Many people think about money. They think about property. They think about companies. I say, you've got children, that's why you should make a will. Upholds your wishes and ensuring your estate, including any asset, is distributed as per your wishes. Now, you remember I told you in the beginning, a will only works when there is a death certificate. So let's take an example. Somebody's brain dead, incapacitated, or in a coma. A will cannot work. I'll say that again. If somebody's brain dead, incapacitated, or in a coma, a will cannot work. A will only works when there is a death certificate. It could be the UAE, it could be Brazil, it could be Canada, it could be the UK, it could be Australia. No death certificate, no will. What I recommend, a power of attorney. A power of attorney is something you set up during your lifetime. You appoint, say, your partner, your spouse, someone who you trust to look after your estate. Now, this is a very important document. Please bear in mind, it is a double-edged sword. It can be used, it can be misused. So be careful who you give in the power of attorney. When a person passes away and the death certificate is issued, the power of attorney is finished. So remember, power of attorney is during your lifetime. When a person is no more, there's a death certificate. Now, if somebody's breathing oxygen on the life support machine, he's still alive. Remember, he's still alive because he's breathing oxygen. So a power of attorney will work. However, when it comes to a death certificate, person's got to be 100% dead. Then the will comes out. So I want you to understand the difference between a power of attorney and a will. Now, in the beginning, I told you about the problems when a person passes away. You remember I put emphasis for the people who just joined or joined late. The bank accounts are blocked, visas are cancelled, and your home country is informed of death. So what do I recommend? You remember in the beginning, I also told you that this is called succession planning in advance. Now, if somebody came to me and said, I want to draft a will within 3 days, I need to do it before I leave the country, I can draft the will. I can register the will in 3 days. But when I tell you to follow these housekeeping tips, believe me, it's impossible. You can't do it in 3 days. Number one, bank accounts. Joint accounts are great. It's not an issue. However, you should have single accounts as well. So let's look, good example. You have joint account with Bank A, husband and wife. Her wife should also have a separate account in her name, Bank B. So joint account is Bank A, wife has a single account, Bank B. And then the husband has a single account in Bank C. Now, why am I saying ABC? It's simple. If the husband passes away, the joint account is blocked. The single account in Bank C is blocked. But the bank account in Bank B, which is in the wife's name, nobody can touch that bank account. I'll say that again. Joint account Bank A, wife has single account in Bank B, and husband has a single account Bank C. If the husband passes away, Bank A and Bank C is blocked. Wife who has a single account in Bank B is not blocked. If the wife passes away, the joint account is blocked, Bank A. The wife's single account is blocked, Bank B. Bank C, husband, nobody can touch that account. Why am I saying ABC? Why not all in A? Is because if you have linked accounts with the husband or with the wife, and the husband passes away, all linked accounts are blocked. So if the wife's single account is in the same bank where the joint account is, chances are, if the husband passes away, the joint account is blocked. The wife's single account can also get blocked as well. That's why I say keep them separate. Number two, ABC, you remember that was for the parents. Now Bank D, D for Delta, that's for the children. Why am I saying this? Courts will not release the money for the children unless they have a bank account. This is very, very important. If I'm the court, you come to me and say, okay, the parents passed away, there's 100 dirham. Can we transfer it to the children's account? I won't do it until there is a bank account for the children. Otherwise, the money will stay in the court till they reach 21. Now, many people don't know you can open up a bank account for a child in the UAE as young as 8 years of age. Banks don't tell you this because banks are not actually getting any benefit when they are given opening the accounts. They are more interested in the joint accounts, the credit cards, car loans, but savings account for children, they're not interested. That's why people don't know that they're opening the accounts. I can send you a link. So all the information I'm sharing with you, I'm going through, I can share this with you later. But I want you to understand that many banks in the UAE open up accounts for children. Number 3, always have life insurance. I don't sell it. Oh, by the way, I don't open bank accounts. I don't sell life insurance. But if you are having any loan, you need life insurance. Because if, for example, the husband passed away and there's a car loan, the wife will have to make those payments. Imagine if all the bank accounts are blocked, how she's going to make the payment. That's why you have the separate account in her name and you have life insurance. Now, life insurance is something, if I want to, I can do a full presentation just on life insurance, but I don't sell it. But let me tell you one thing, everything's got to be paid in the UAE. If you have in a business, you should look at setting up partnership or key man protection. This is very, very important. Number 4, for me, this is the biggest problem. And this is not a local problem, this is a global issue. When I draft a will, I will say all bank accounts, all properties, all assets, everything is all. But do husband and wife really share information on what they own? Do husband and wife know what the internet banking credentials are? You'd be surprised. There is very little transparency between the family. So when the wife is going to the court will ask the wife, the bank accounts, title deeds, trade license, off-plan properties, fixed deposit accounts. You have to go to the court and give the information. Don't expect the court to go on a witch hunt, checking with every bank in the UAE. Is the money in this bank? Is it in that bank? Is there a car with a title deed? Whoever goes to the court, the legal term for the person going to the court is the executor or the personal representative. This personal representative, whoever that person, let's say it's me. If I go to the court, I need to know where the money is. But let's actually ask ourselves the question, has your family or does your family know where the money is? Have you given the information? Now, if I put this information in the will, you'll be updating the will every 6 months. It's pointless. I tell people that don't put the information in the will. It will keep changing. You prepare a separate inventory, a list of assets. We have a 45-page document which I can share to you. Next point, always have separate visas. This is very, very important. Sorry, the numbering is a little bit incorrect there. Always have a separate visa for your partner. So if the wife's working, separate visa. Shouldn't be sponsored by the husband. In this part of the world, everyone should have a separate visa. I don't offer visas. I'm not here to write down the password of your email account. I don't sell life insurance, and I'm certainly not opening the bank accounts for your children. This is why these housekeeping tips, you need to follow them. Number 7, any beneficiary form you have, get this completed. So you're working for a company, this is where the HR needs to understand that if the employee doesn't complete a beneficiary form for the end of service benefits, this will go into the bank account of the employee when he passes away. So any beneficiary form, any life assurance, if you have in an online trading account, always ask and complete a beneficiary form. Point number 8, if you own property in the UAE, make sure the children and your marriage certificate is fully attested, translated into Arabic, certified by the Ministry of Justice. Nobody does this. To apply for a spouse visa or a dependent visa for the children, the attestation is up to X. But when it comes to dealing with a death case, it has to be up to Z. So Arabic, Ministry of Justice. Point number 9. If you are having any business, you're in a partnership, always complete a memorandum of understanding, any agreements. Always get this done, because when you're dealing with a death case, we don't know what were the terms and conditions. Point number 10, letter of wishes. We can give you a template. This deals with smaller requests, like if you have jewelry, if you want to give it to daughter A, daughter B, organ donation, where you want to be buried, where you want to be cremated. These personal requests or preferences, you don't put in the will, you keep it separate in the letter of wishes. Points 10, 11, 12 is what we deal with. In fact, point number 10 is the app. We now have Just Wills on an app where you can download certain documents or keep the information uploaded and share it with the family. So we are focusing on points 11 and 12 is what we deal with. Power of attorney and the will. What information is required when drafting a will? Now, if you're living here, passport copy, local ID for husband, wife, and children. If no children, just husband and wife. If you have children, who are the guardians? Remember, temporary and permanent. Temporary living here, permanent from the home country. Point number 3, who are the executors, the personal representative? Who's going to the court to deal with the execution of the will? And last but not least, how do you want the estate to be distributed? Other services we offer. Document attestation services, translation of documents, living wills, BVI wills, business succession services, lifetime gifts, property transfers, probate services in case somebody passes away, we can deal with the execution, PRO services. Something very interesting, the UAE government is now issuing tax domicility certificates. So you can now get a certificate from the government that you are living here. So this will help you to solve any potential double taxation issues. Foundation setup is a very complicated matter that is separate. That's if you hold in multiple businesses, bank accounts, companies, restaurants. Where does all of this go? So you don't need to go through probate. So this is a separate discussion. We can assist with agreements and MOUs. We have the app, and we also do similar presentations. So like this one is geared towards the Brazilian community, but we are carrying out similar presentations to all communities. There are just some very quick FAQs before we can go into, where you can ask me any questions. Can a will from overseas work locally in the UAE? Currently, only the Abu Dhabi courts is allowing this. It's very expensive and time-consuming. Again, recently, due to a change, when a person passes away without a will, the estate can be divided 50-50. However, the court will decide who are the trustees. Now, one thing I'd like to point out, if there's any arguments, even between the wife and children, you might think, why would the child argue? You'll be surprised. When it comes to any arguments, any disagreements, if there is no conclusion, it will go back to Sharia law. And I've done this already. So the family weren't coming together. So we went to the courts, they applied the Sharia law. When do you update a will? You only update a will when there's a major change in your circumstances. So if you get married, divorce, if you change in the beneficiaries, executors, or the guardians. Now, can an executor be a guardian? Like one person going to the court, the person representative, and the same person looking after your children? The answer is yes. I would rather you keep them separate. What is the age of maturity? Well, this is a funny question because many people say, well, the age of maturity is 18 in my country, but I want you to understand it's 21 here. If you ask me, it should be 25. If you give $100,000 to a 21-year-old while in the middle of university, they're going to misuse it. So for me, maturity or the age of maturity should be 25. Is there a concept of a joint will, one for both husband and wife? The answer is no. It's either single or mirror. Does a will need to be in English or Arabic? Both. Bilingual, half English, half Arabic. Is a list of assets mentioned attached to the will? The answer is no. Keep it separate in that inventory I spoke to you about. How long it takes to draft a will? Between 5 to 6 days. Are there any inheritance tax in the UAE? Currently, there aren't any. I can't talk about tomorrow. Can I prepare a codicil for any future changes? No. You've got to update the will. Now, are debts passed on to the family? This is a very good question. So you imagine the bank account's blocked and you owe the bank, let's say there's 100 dirham in the bank. They block the 100, but you owe the bank 150 dirhams. So now the bank keep 100, but there's 50 dirhams balance. Banks here will chase the family for the 50 dirham. However, this is illegal. They're not allowed to do it. There are cases where the family is still paying for the debts and liabilities for the husband who passed. This is illegal. They shouldn't do it. Unfortunately, it's happening. Can a will cover global assets? Case by case, the answer is yes. But you need to get extra additional government stamps on the will. Can a Muslim prepare a will? Yes, 100%. They can give the money to whomever they like. Do you need a lawyer to execute a will? The answer is no. Anyone can do it. So when the rumor is, oh, only the lawyer can be the personal representative going to the court, no, anyone can do it. Now, question 16, do all assets pass to the husband if the wife passes away? So there's a misconception. If the wife passes away, husband get everything. Now, if you look at the Sharia law, the husband only takes 25%. The parents will take 1/3 and balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the child. But please bear in mind, according to the new law, it will go 50% to the husband, 50% to the children. Again, if there's any issues between the surviving parent and the children, it will just revert back to the Sharia law. If you have a special needs child, what do? You appoint a special trustee. Where can you open minor accounts for children? Anywhere. Every country has it. Funeral arrangements, organ donation, letter of wishes. Can a power of attorney be local and global? The answer is local. If you have assets in Brazil, you make a separate power of attorney there. So every country has their law. Beneficiary form versus a nominee form. Please be careful. A beneficiary makes a person a beneficiary to get the money. A nominee means this person is a caretaker, like a trustee. Doesn't make him the beneficiary. Not informing the banks of death and using the power of attorney, this is fraud. Everyone does it. If you get caught, you're in a big problem. Can I declare my domicility in the will? Yes. So you can say, I am domiciled in the UAE. However, I would recommend you apply for a tax residency certificate as well. Which courts are registering wills for Muslims? It's the UAE federal courts. Can you appoint an executor, a personal representative for the business only? Yes. So you could have one personal representative to look after the business and one for the personal assets. Will or foundation? Foundation basically means whatever's owned by the foundation, there is no probate. You don't go to the court post-death. So this is really good for the high-profile people having multiple assets. Joint account versus single account. Now remember, there's no right to survivorship with a joint account. So if the husband passes, even the wife passes away, and the bank is informed, they block the joint account. Now, I just want to run through a case example. Husband and wife with 2 minor children. Husband passes away. Husband is the sole owner of all the assets. What happens without a will? Now, even though the estate is going 50-50 between the wife and children, the control of the children's share will be up to the court who they decide. And the money will sit in the court. If you have a company, this is where it gets very, very complicated. If you have a company, you have to value the company. So when I say 50-50, let's say that the company is worth, keep it round, 100 dirham. The wife may get the 50 dirham, but the 50 dirham for the children will sit in the court. Now, every year, the business makes a profit. The 50% of the profits have to be given back to the court because that belongs to the child or the children. So you imagine if you have a business, even if you're going through the new law, it doesn't make sense. Because when it comes to the children, if they're taking 50%, they're taking 50% of the current and the future value of the business. And even when it comes to their shares, you have to give this back to the court. So you imagine when you are trying to invest the money of the business back into the business, you can't do it. So if the company, the business makes a profit of 1,000 dirhams, the wife takes a 500 dirham, but the children's 500, you have to give it back to the court. And that will sit in a fixed deposit account for the children. And the children can only access it later on when they reach 21. Now, if the wife needs to pay any school fees, any medical, any holiday money, she has to put an application into the court. And the court will decide yes or no. And even they pay the school directly. So there are cases where even if the mother wants to buy school uniform, she is struggling getting the money from the court. Sometimes she has to pay out of her own pocket. It's like medical insurance, if I can give you a good example. I was at the dentist over the weekend, and the medical insurance cover the bills, but it's not direct billing. So I had to pay, get the receipt, give it to the medical insurance company, and they will reimburse me the money 1 month, 2 months, you know what they're like. So it's the same process. You buy the school uniform, you pay the school fees, you get the receipt, give it to the court will give you the money back. You will need to keep doing that till the child reaches 21. It's a headache, it's a pain. So even with the new law, 50-50, even the children's share, if they below 21, you have to deal with the court. Post 21, good luck to you. And if there's any problems with the family, it will revert back to Sharia law. This is why having a will is very, very important. How much does a will cost? So we will offer a corporate rate to everyone with the Brazilian or within the Brazilian community. So we will draft the will, assist with the translation and assistance registering in the court. So let's now look at the court. You can go to the Abu Dhabi court, the Dubai court, the DIFC court. So what's the difference? Dubai and Abu Dhabi is government. So if you're living in Abu Dhabi, having Abu Dhabi visa, Abu Dhabi assets, going to Abu Dhabi court makes sense. You don't need to go there in person. You have a video call to register the will. After death, you go back to the court, submit the paperwork, and they will execute the will accordingly. Dubai, if you're living in Dubai, having a Dubai visa, Dubai assets, registering the will in Dubai courts makes sense. Now, what is DIFC? DIFC is a spin-off from Dubai Court that started back in 2015. First of all, you need to understand that when you're dealing with a DIFC court probate, they put the name of the deceased on the public register. You've got to wait 6 months. And then after 6 months, they'll give you the grant of probate. Then you go back to Dubai court to get the orders to unblock the money. So these are the 3 courts today where you can register the will. I'm not here to say which is better. I'll give you my opinion. However, these are the 3 courts. All I want you to understand that Dubai and Abu Dhabi is government. Government don't market, advertise. They don't create any awareness. It's basically, it's there, take it or leave it. With DIFC, they're not government. They obviously are marketing themselves. This is why they're popular. I think that's about it, really. I've come to the end of the presentation. You've got my social media details there. We have our free phone number, 800 Wills 94557. Our email ID, website, international number. I think I've come to the end. I'll leave it to you now, Cecilia. Any questions, please ask me.
Hello, Mohammed. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. It was very clarifying and clear, and really thank you. Well, I invite the participants if they want to raise their hand or just, speak out. I think there are a couple of questions here in the chat. Maybe if your team has accessed the chat, you can answer. I saw only 2 questions. Otherwise, then the participants can go and directly address their issues to you. Okay?
I mean, look, I've put on the group chat a what do you call it? A feedback form. So if you want to, the attendees can go onto the feedback form. They can put the details in. So if they want any information, I can gladly email it to them and take it from there. So just going back to the questions, hold on, the chat here. Is a will registered in the UAE also valid in the home country? Look, home country, I'm sorry, I don't know which is a home country. So assuming it's Brazil, I would say it's better that you make a separate will there. Why? Because of the language. Don't forget, any will I draft here is going to be English and Arabic. But if you look at the home country, they have their own language. And when you're trying to translate from English, Arabic to, say, Portuguese, it's very expensive. So it's better you just draft a will there locally. Number 2, you might need to register the will personally, which you can't do from here. So it's just better you draft a will, register it in your home country. When it comes to our drafting fees, this is case by case. I would not know your circumstances. So when it comes to the will we draft, well, our charges include obviously the registration of the will. Execution is post-death. That is a separate process. So we are looking at drafting and registering the will, and obviously we need to know the circumstances if you have children and so forth, and take it from there. How about divorce? And if the document's written before, look, divorce, the will becomes null and void. So you need to update the wills. That's why it's important that you have a will that is reflecting your current situation. If you don't have children, then decide who are the second level beneficiaries. So husband might say he's going to the wife might say going to the husband. If you're both not there, husband would want it going to his family, wife would want it going to her family. So when it comes to the will, is levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. So in this case, level 1 could be husband to wife, vice versa. Who is level 2? You need to decide. Now, if you have children, children will be level 2. So just try and let me know who the level 2 is. What is the rate of the power of attorney? Look, the power of attorney is a general document. Our drafting fees is approximately 2,000 dirhams plus the court fees. So this is, if you don't mind me saying anything specifically, it's always best if you can email me, fill in the feedback form, we can take it from there then. We're going to be uploading this presentation on YouTube as well. So if you want to, you can obviously go onto YouTube and see a recording of this video and take it from there then. Are there any other questions anyone has? Hold on. Yes, the will and the power of attorney has to be registered in a court. Now, you can have a video call with the court, or you can go in person. So if you are busy, you're probably not in the UAE, maybe you're not well, we can do a video call. What is the duration to execute a will? Look, if you're dealing with, say, Dubai court, you give the death certificate. Within 1 week, they give you the approval that the will is accepted. Then you proceed to give the list of assets to the inheritance department. And within 4 weeks, they'll send the orders to the land department, the economic department, the banks. Then you have to deal with them separately. So I would say between 4 to 6 weeks, all the court orders are sent to the third-party government departments. Abu Dhabi is the capital of the UAE. It's the federal court. They pass the laws for the United Arab Emirates. For me, that's the highest court. That is the only court that is allowing Muslims to draft a will. They only they can accept the will and the grant of probate from your home country. They're the one who passed the new law 50-50. So for me, that's the highest court in the UAE. Just bearing one thing in mind, though, that if you are living in Dubai, registering a will in Abu Dhabi, then you have to go back to Abu Dhabi for execution. You can't have an Abu Dhabi will go to Dubai court. You have to go to the main court to execute the will. Execution means post-death. Registration is registering the will during your lifetime. I hope that explains, because many people confuse these 2 points. So just going back, please do fill in the forms, the feedback form, and all information goes there. We will send you the details and take it from there then. Any other questions, please?
Okay, Mohammed, I think that we are good here, and we are like, we had 1 hour of session. It was really, really good. And maybe now I think people are like thinking about certain specific situations, and they will contact you directly, or they will fill the form. Okay, so then I think that we can come to the closing of the event if you have your final comments or anything, and then we will finalize it.
In my contact details on the what do you call it? The group chat. So if you want to contact me separately, you can. However, please bear in mind that with the feedback form, I will give all the information. Just a very last quick question. I would like to know, in the case when the parents are not married and have a child and they are separate, how to check the whole issue of pension custody in Dubai. Look, with respect, have a will. You saying you're leaving the will to your next door neighbor, they will accept it. Who's going to be the custody of the child? Put it in the will. Now, as a rule of thumb, the children will always go to the biological parent. So don't think if the mother's separated and she says, okay, if I die, the children doesn't go back to their father, it must go to my sister. She can't do that because the father is the father. However, the estate assets can go to the children, and the sister becomes a trustee for the children, for the money. But the children has to go back to the parent. Now, even though I say the age of maturity is 21 in the UAE, do bear in mind when the child reaches 18 or 19, they tend to leave the country for further education. So for an 18 or 19-year-old, the physical guardianship is not an issue. The financial guardianship until 21, yes. That I'm saying you need to put this into the will. Hope that explains.
Okay, all right. All right, so thank you again, Mohammed, for your time today, okay, and for giving this all these clarifications. It was really good to have you with us, okay? So I will leave now to the participants to contact you directly in case they need anything. Okay, thank you again.
Thank you very much, Cecilia,
All right,
and
okay.
thank you everyone for joining.
All right, okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.